I'm rolling on my end.
This is amazing. This is the most amazing episode of the Podcast Club ever. I'm sorry. We are live from Hawaii and a cornfield. Like, Marcus, you are killing me right now in the best possible way. Like, seriously,
That's how all podcasts should be done.
That's right.
With an MB7 and a...
Just outside of Ames, Iowa. And there's a bit of a drought, so the corn isn't as high as it normally would be, apparently. I'm no corn expert because I'm from the city. I'm city folk.
I'm not as high as I should be either, so me and that corn got something in common, you know?
I believe it's as high as the elephant's eye.
Well, Christy, welcome to the show. It's nice to see your face again. You were one of the last faces I saw before the world came to a crumbling halt.
Before we all hid away.
Literally.
Yeah, definitely. That's true. That was my last event. Yeah, that was the last event, and I haven't done any really since then. So, wow.
Yeah. That dinner we went to?
Yeah, we've gotten more than a year older after all that. So,
man.
Pretty well sucks.
What a wild ride. Well, I'm excited to have you on. So I'll give you a little background. You know, Adam Levin and Marcus DePaula and I have this podcast, the podcast. We realized like 4 months in that we had two thes in our logo, so we just rolling with it. It's the Podcast Club. And we realized it live on a show too. It was pretty amazing. But Adam is descendant and been of a music store business that's been in business for 60 years outside of DC, legendary status. And Marcus has been in the music business for 30 years, and he does a lot of podcast editing. So Adam sells podcast equipment, Marcus does podcast editing, and I joke about being high on mushrooms all the time. It's basically my job here.
All right.
I'm the comic relief. You know what
there
I mean?
You go.
Somebody's got to do it. But
no, but Molly's the business end of all. Like, she's the leader in this pack, and she's the one that has like a team of people. And I mean, Adam has a team too, but I'm a solopreneur, you know. So she's helping me get my stuff together for my upcoming podcast audio lab.
It's a pleasure to meet both of you.
Nobody has more employees than Adam Levin. He wins that contest. How many employees do you have, Adam?
Like 105.
Holy cow.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Not jealous, but wow.
A lot of people. But on the podcast side of things, Podcast Outfitters, there's like 2 or 3.
Did you steal some of the pro audio guys to help you with that?
I usually do all the podcast Jimmy Jams, you know?
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
Indeed. Well, I met Christy at Podfest Expo.
Fest. Yeah.
And met a couple guys that do a mastermind program. And so they invited me to dinner, and that's where I met Christy. And then we became friends. And I'm really excited to have Christy on the show today because in that group of women editors that I reference a lot, you know, me and Christy always kind of seem to be on the same page, and that's not like to disparage anybody else in there, but we're definitely like people will be like, how much did you do in revenue, like editing? People are like 1,800, and then Christy's like 45K, and I'm like 30K, and everyone's like, what the fuck, right? Like, it's a whole different level of business, but it's all centered around podcasts. So I'm super pumped because Christy, over the last couple weeks, I've just really kind of dialed in on what value do I want to bring to this show and what do I want to talk about other than talking shit about libsyn and mushrooms, right? So, I really like talking about the business side of podcasting, especially as a woman-owned business. And so I'm just really excited for you to like tell us your origin story and what we should know. And then I just have a ton of questions for you about the business and how things are going and, all of that.
Yeah, definitely. So, origin story, I started a podcast back in, my first podcast was back in 2012, and it was while I was still working for someone else. So the reason I kind of got turned on to podcasting is I was at a job where I had to drive 2 hours each way to go to work every single day, 5 days a week. I was 4 hours each day was in the car, and there was not enough stuff to listen to. Like, I listened to every audiobook the library had, and then finally when I realized that it wouldn't burn burn up my data on my phone plan for me to download podcasts on my home Wi-Fi, stream them all the while I'm in the car driving to work. And so that's how I got turned on to podcasts. So then I started my own podcast about local business and did that for 155 episodes, I think it was. And then, I started looking for help because I was working a full-time job doing the John Lee Dumas model of 5-day-a-week interview shows for a podcast. And it's like, I don't need his $30,000 or $300,000 a month. If I had 10% of that, it would be life-changing, So I started podcasting with all kind of misconceptions and then eventually started trying to find someone to help me with the back end, the production and that kind of stuff. And I could not. I was pissed off. I have a background in customer relations and that kind of stuff. And so every company that I looked at completely pissed me off because they were like, we'll take out 10 ahs or ums and we'll edit up to 32 minutes of audio. And when there's all these, caveats and clarifications. And I'm like, are you seriously going to edit my show and be like, Christy, we took out 10 ahs and ums, but we counted there are 32 more. And we're going to charge you X amount each. And this is how much you're going to, I was just like, so not user friendly. So I just started my own podcast production company because I could not find one I wanted to work with that wasn't pissing me off. So that's kind of how I got there. In the course of that, I moved from South Carolina to Key West, and about 3 years ago, now dove into the marketing world because I realized that we are in an editing industry, we are a churn and burn kind of thing. Like we take people's money while they're on their, they're on their high of, I got a great idea for a podcast. But then when it doesn't go viral and it doesn't hit it out of the park immediately, they have nothing to fall back on as far as like, oh, I planned on funding this for 6 months or whatever before it made any money. And I realized when I was at one of the mastermind retreats that we had one time, I had a client that was also in the mastermind, and she's like, Christy, oh, you're going to be so upset with me, but I think I'm going to stop the podcast. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We rebranded 4 times now. We got you from 700 downloads a month to 7,000 downloads a month. And you're going to stop podcasting now when you're finally hitting your stride. And she's like, yeah, but I'm not making any money. And it dawned on me at that point in time, it's like a punch in the gut. Like at my lowest, she was my lowest priced client. And I had made more money on her podcast than she ever had. And I was like, this freaking sucks. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the one making the money, and then leaving you with nothing in the end whenever you pod fade, because most of them will. And so I decided I needed to do something about it. So that's when I dove into and spent tons of money learning the world of marketing. And so I'm now on a mission to get as many podcasts monetized as possible, sort of selfishly, because a monetized podcast is a long-term client for you and me, because they can continue to support the production. But the podcasts that are not monetized and they just have a hope, I hope one day to monetize, they're never going to do it. And so I've got to change a lot of the guru perception in podcasting is like, go build it. I hate to say it since Marcus is in a cornfield, but go build the baseball field in the cornfield,
exactly,
right? And you build it,
That's
they'll
what
come.
He's doing there, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I came to Iowa just
is that
for
Kevin
this
Costner
analogy.
back there?
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of animosity, it seems like, toward people that want to start a podcast for the purpose of making money, and we attach it to them in a way that we would never attach it to someone else that wants to start any other type of business that wants to make money. And I'm like, why are you trying to shame people for wanting to make money? And even, like you say, in the podcast editors group that we're in, like there's several people in there that are like, if someone mentions making money from a podcast on my consultation, I don't want to work with them. And I'm like, fine, send them to me, because that's my ideal client, so it's just we've got to come away from the it's not that we don't want to be value driven, but everyone that I know that starts a podcast the traditional way gets stuck in free content creation mode, and I'm completely against that. It sucks you dry and leaves you with nothing. So there you go. There you have it.
Much like dating in the pandemic.
It is. Leaves you completely.
Yeah.
Completely. No energy, no money, no time left.
Well, I love it. I love your mindset about all of it. I think it's really important to decide where you want to be. I think I take issue with people that are like, how do I get a free RSS feed? I don't want to use a microphone. How do I make money? And I'm like, okay, well, it's like that Venn diagram of like fast, cheap or good.
Fast, cheap, and easy, or
pick two.
Right. It's like, okay, bro. But that's just like Darwinism, right? Like not everybody's supposed to make it. So like, there's a certain level of like, there's a certain level of narcissism, right? In people who want to start new podcasts. And then there's people who like, it's a great concept, right? Like, I mean, I produce branded podcasts. So it's like, we're on a specific mission here. We define what the goalpost is first before we do anything else,
Right. Exactly.
But I really respect that you're, dug into the, I love, it's like such a classic like woman thing. You're like, everyone's pissing me off, I'm just going to do it better.
Well, and you know what else? It was funny because at Podfest a couple of years ago, Chris always just puts me in charge of some panel that nobody else wants. He like throws me the leftovers or whatever. And he's
good at doing
exactly.
That, yeah.
Like he's like, hey, old friend, old buddy, old pal, here's some crap. Make it beautiful, But so what he did is he took a panel of podcasts, like people like us, podcast editors or podcast production people. And he was like, well, let's do a panel so that we can share our best marketing tips for our clients, that we would give our clients. And I got on this panel and it was like me and 4 guys, and they were all pissed off that they had gotten put on that panel. Like, why is he putting me on this panel? I hate marketing. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know what to say. And I'm like, oh my gosh, could you just do a little bit of research and act like you know what you're talking about? But none of our peers wanted anything to do with marketing or anything like that. And I'm like, hello, that's going to be my niche because I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to do it and make people make money, and then they'll love me and they'll love their podcast. So.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
what
awesome.
I'm talking about. So, Christy, how many clients do you have?
Right now we have right at about 54 podcasts that we do. So we do about 300 and it depends on this is like summer hiatus or summer cutback time for a lot of them, but just right around the 350 episodes a month is what we're looking at on a normal month. So,
and what are the services that you offer?
Well, it's really everything after the recording. So it's like, they do the recording, they send it to us. We do the audio editing, we do the show notes, we do the creating the social media assets, the quotes, the audiograms, the video snippets with transcripts and that sort of thing. We do all the publishing. So we'll publish to your host, to your website. And then if you have any sort of automation that you're using for your social media posting and stuff like that, or you have like a host that allows that kind of connection, we'll connect it there and publish it to your social media and stuff like that. And then we do have a few clients that we do their email newsletters. They're like monthly email newsletters for, but that's on the podcast production end. That's what we do. Ideally, whenever I've got to build out a little bit more of a team to do it, but we'll do the funnel building for the clients, and we'll do some of the creating of the digital assets and getting them all set up so that they're immediately starting with sort of like a podcast funnel to collect leads and then go right into their offers, whatever their offers are going to be, so
right.
Ideally, I want to have people that actually mine the archive of all the podcasts that we work with that would create digital assets from all of those podcasts that are sitting there in their archive doing nothing. So
right.
Yeah, it is. Though. It's like deep diving in that. So, but it would give the podcaster, the high end podcaster. It's not a low ticket item, but a high end podcaster that wants to have a lot of digital assets but doesn't want to have to spend the time creating them. It would give them essentially.
Absolutely.
It would basically spoon feed it to, so it can be part of their bonuses or part of their offers, or it just really build out their digital portfolio for them because they've got all the content there. It's just in audio form. Or video form, whichever one they're doing. So
right.
It sounds like you're doing for podcasters what my wife is doing for authors. And one of the big things, and I'm curious to hear if you have the same mindset as my wife, but she talks a lot about evergreen content and having those, like you were saying, the archive, because there's so many episodes. Like we try to do timely stuff on this podcast, but there's a lot of what we're talking about, like especially with you, that is evergreen. Like at any point, anybody could find it online, and it could direct people to our services. And I'm like Molly, like I do mostly branded podcasts. I had one client that was monetizing the podcast, and it was too much work for me, so I had to ditch him. And along with some other things. But the evergreen content thing, so many podcasters I see, they only share their podcast episode, like the latest one they just published, and they're churning these episodes out every week. What about all the other content that nobody's ever heard before from a year ago or whatever, that's still great stuff and relevant, especially when you're talking about, what we're talking about?
It's
how do we get that to them?
And it's amazing. Like when I think about, I've got some podcasters that have been with me. They're like on their 6th year of podcasting, and they started with me. And if all we had done is built them one evergreen funnel a quarter, and let's just say all that evergreen funnel did is earn them $50 a day. Like they would have 24 evergreen funnels earning them $50 a day. Will that change their life? Absolutely it will. And that's kind of what the goal is. Like if we can just get you one evergreen funnel a quarter, then you're at least getting 4 fully formed functioning funnels that have assets and bonuses and value all in there. But it's a way for you to continue to, it's not passive income because you had to do the work for it, but it's just a way to keep those assets in something that can produce revenue rather than in a podcast feed that is free and most people will completely ignore.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. I'm super impressed. Yeah. So, Christy, have you always, you said you were in like customer service or, I think that's what you said, but like
relations,
customer management.
Yeah, customer relations, yeah.
Customer relations, that's the word. Was this like a natural thing for you to start this business? And like, where did that business acumen come from? Or have you developed that since starting this business?
Yeah, I'm a completely different person now than I used to be when I was an employee. I was like the perfect employee and I followed all the rules and I would do what I had to do to get promoted. And I'd be thrilled when I got my yearly raise. It was 25 extra cents an hour. And, all of that whole, just playing that whole corporate game. And I think with me, I'm a lifelong learner and I am not afraid to try anything, like just as I do things out of necessity. And so normally when I'm not here in Hawaii, I live in Key West, and I have a heck of a time finding a mechanic to work on my boat. And so every time there's something wrong, it's like you can't find somebody to work on it. Nobody's working on boats or whatever. So I just went and took a course at the community college to get certified by Yamaha to work on outboard engines. And so, because I'm like, but damn, I'm going to do my own stuff, because I can't pay anybody to do it. So I got to take my time to do that. So I just am one that's not afraid to, if you said, Christy, do you want to try this? I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do it, but let me do some research and I'll come back to you. And so I'm kind of a, independent learner kind of person. And so, I've gone through the business part as the School of Hard Knocks, because my degree is in education and I'm, nothing to do with business or anything. And so I got to a point after about 3 years in business by myself when I was like, I have to invest in people that are smarter than me, coaching me and helping me. And that's whenever I started getting into the masterminds, and I'm in the one we have that you know about, and then I'm also in Russell Brunson's for the marketing piece of that. And so I have to invest. I have to invest heavily so that I can up level my skill, because if only thing I ever know is what is in my head, we are in so much trouble. So I can't rely on that. So I like to surround myself with people that are smarter than me.
I think that's amazing for sure. I'm really impressed, just with everything that you're doing. And, I saw you had put a post up in that, group the other day about, just, the money blocks and the mindset that people have.
It's true.
And, one person had commented about feeling like masterminds were like a gatekeeper. And I really, like you have to invest, right, to get to that next level. You can't be the smartest person in the room. But I was just really kind of thinking about that today, right? Because I think that like accessibility is super important, right? And I think that like accessibility means, you can start an LLC. You can build a website. You can start an Instagram page. Like shit, you don't even need a whole business. Just start an Instagram page and get really good at that shit and sell your services.
Yes.
Like there is accessibility, right? But I think that like no one's stopping anybody from starting a business, right? Like not in the United States anyway, right? Costa Rica is a little different than the United States for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, deciding to take that next step and invest, I mean, honestly, if the pandemic hadn't hit, I would totally be in that mastermind with you. For certain,
makes sense.
There was so much knowledge and information in that group and a lot of support. And I just saw the, people that were involved, you being one of them. And I thought this is a good place to be. So it's one of the many reasons why I'm disappointed in the old pandemic. But I think it is really important to constantly level up and to learn from other people. I'm curious about the Russell, not Brand, but
Brunson. Russell Brunson. Yeah.
What is that mastermind like?
What's
a
mastermind group?
Oh,
yeah.
This is a good question.
Oh, that's a good question. So you want to go with that? You want to take that, Molly, or you want me to take that?
No, you go ahead, Christy. I think
So,
I'm not in
well,
one, so I think you could do a better job.
Yeah. So with the masterminds, basically, I mean, there are all different sorts of models set up for this. I've been in ones that are free where it's just like a bunch of service providers are like, hey, do you guys want to get together for accountability? And we'll like meet once a week and discuss what we're doing and help each other solve problems. So you're sort of using the hive mind to solve your problems or whatever. Free ones work well if there is there's got to be a leader to them and there's got to be some structure and some organization. All the free ones I've ever been a part of have fallen apart whenever everyone's lives got busy. Yeah. So, but what doesn't happen is whenever you heavily invest and you have to pay $1,000 a month or $3,000 a month or whatever it is to be in one. And then all of a sudden it's like, I've got to get a return on this investment. I'm paying, $40,000 a year to get, brilliance from this person and learn their frameworks and apply them and get their help with doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And if you really want results, you have to challenge yourself in that way and almost scare yourself. For me, I have to almost scare myself with the amount of money I'm paying out for that kind of thing. Because $100, I'm like, it's not going to motivate me. But if I get scary numbers that are, in the thousands, then I'm like, okay, Christy, big girl, you got to put some fire under your butt and get going, So that's kind of how it works for me. And so Russell Brunson is, he's the founder of ClickFunnels, and he is heavily invested in helping people that are like action takers. So he has a small group that we meet with him, and he has coaches and other things. So we're not always right there meeting with Russell, but we have coaches, and so for both the masterminds I'm in, we have regular meetings. The ClickFunnels one with Russell is weekly, and the other one, the Elevate one that you were talking about, Molly, is every other week. But we set goals. We also use them for like marketing purposes. Like I can take any of the funnels that we're building and I can go to my mastermind group and get feedback on it and take people that are, designers, and they're sort of like the triple threat because they're great copywriters, they're great marketers, and they're great funnel designers, get them to look at anything and give us feedback. And not just that, but it's cool to be able to go to those people and say, okay, how are your Facebook ads doing? Mine are sucking right now. And then you start talking about it and figuring out what you're doing wrong, or just trying to figure out how to get more leads and how to get those leads to convert at a higher rate. So,
you know what's interesting is I stand here in this cornfield in Iowa. One of the big things here that my wife's family talks about is the farmers here have a morning and an afternoon coffee, and they all meet up at the quick stop.
Wow.
Over here, like the gas station. And so they like, it's obviously not the same level as a mastermind, but it's like
but it's loosely a mastermind. I mean, really.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're sharing, they're talking about the problems that each one's having. They ask for help. And back in the day, they used to help each other walk beans, which is a thing, which I learned. But yeah, it's there's something about the community, and like you guys, especially we're talking about, is partnering, or not partnering, but learning from those who are ahead of you.
Sharing
is hugely
ideas.
important.
Yeah, that sharing ideas is critical. Some of the things you wouldn't even think about, and not just ideas, but strategies and other things. It's like, wow, I would have never even known that people are doing this if I hadn't heard somebody tell me about it.
Right.
So it levels you up.
Well, how do you find those people though that are ahead of you? Like there's so much, especially when it comes to marketing stuff, there's so much advice and so much bad advice out there. How do you find the best people to invest in these masterminds?
Yeah, I think from a value perspective, you have to, especially with marketing, you have to be a little bit careful because there are so many shisty, shady people that make you feel cheap and sleazy whenever they put you in a sales funnel rather than providing value. And so I think, I think once you start circling in the marketing worlds, and there are people that are, set up specifically to help agency owners. There's people that are specifically set up to help service providers, they all have their niche. And so they know the marketing techniques that are going to work best for those niches. And so, for me, I think it's really just a matter of starting to look around and see. The other thing is we call it funnel hacking, but it's basically when you see something on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you are that catches your eye, stop and go look at it and go, why did that make me catch my eye? What did they do so good that made me stop? And why am I getting ready to buy this whatever crazy thing on Facebook? Because something about it resonated with you. So you begin to identify things that you're like, wait a minute, I didn't feel sold to. I didn't feel anything weird or sleazy about that. So who's doing this marketing? And then you begin to sort of trace it back to, oh, there's this person that teaches this or whatever. And so, investing in yourself by putting a little bit of time into researching the right person to help you is just as important as actually taking the action to get in, to get the help, because not everyone resonates with other people. I'm an acquired taste for some people. And so I'm not going to resonate with everyone, but there are certain people that are going to resonate with me. There are certain people that are going to be like, oh my God, I love Molly's shoot from the hip, straight talking. She's not bullshitting anybody. And, that kind of thing. And then there are other people that need to be, hey, sweetheart, how you doing, darling? And, all this stuff. And it's like, whatever, works best with your personality, like that's a big consideration because they're going to speak the language you understand and you're going to be able to get further down the road than you would on your own.
Well, and I think a big part of it is like law of attraction, right? Like when you're in that mindset, like the things that you're talking about are not the things that you talk about when you're not in that mindset, right?
Right.
When you get in that zone, that's what you're interested in talking about. You want to talk to other people and you kind of find each other pretty quickly, for me.
Because you're like, my people, I saw your comment on this random Facebook post. Oh my God, you're my people, Right.
Yes.
And like for me, the Elevate guys, like I met them at Podfest Expo. I was walking the showroom floor, just like talking to different people. And I was like, what do you guys do? And they were and so I was like curious because, I'm on this journey. Like I've read like 50 books about business and personal development. And like, I'm really, only dialing in on things that make me a better person and business owner. And so, I'm like, what is this mastermind thing? So we started chatting and then we started talking more and they're like, well, what's your deal? And I'm like, well, this is my business. This is what I've done. This is what I'm building. And they were like, immediately like saw that in me and they were like, you should come to this dinner. And, I had one of my good friends, Sam Burns, I found out earlier that day that he had died like 5 minutes before I got on the mic to speak in one of the rooms. So it was like,
man,
I knew that I was either going to go to this dinner or I was going to go to my hotel room and just fucking cry. Like there was no... And I was in Orlando. I was like, this is not the way I'm trying. You know what I mean? Crying in a hotel room in Orlando is not how I'm trying to spend my evening. And I really wasn't sure what I was getting into, but I went to this dinner and then met all these other people who were like in this mastermind. And it was like, they want them to be in this mastermind. And it was all just really inspiring people. But Adam, to kind of answer your question, like, a mastermind essentially is like a couple people who have really figured it out, who organize it, and then it's other people that are invested in their business like you are, who are really trying to get shit done. So it's not like MLM marketing or like those like weekly meet the BLMs or whatever they call, or no, that's no. What am I what are they called?
I think you're talking about BNI. Yeah,
it's
BNI.
not like a BNI where you go in every week and everybody introduces
BNI,
themselves
yeah.
and you want to punch yourself in the face repeatedly and start drinking alcohol at 7 a.m. or whatever fucking ungodly time you agreed to be in that dumb shit. It's not that. It's like the opposite. It's like other people who are like heavily invested, and then people who are like, yeah, man, I've done, $500,000 launches. Like, I've cracked the code. I've done this. Our business did 10 million in revenue, and now we get excited. And so the guys that do Elevate were kind of part, and I don't remember the exact details, but they had something to do with the production of Podfest Expo and kind of helped Adam build it from the backside, and were some investors or some part of that, and so, that's how they were tied into all of it. So it's really just like people are trying to elevate their business. So yeah, you got to kind of, find your people. It's like find your client base, like who's going to resonate with you, who's not. But
it's also a place where you can be kind of honest about what's going on. I mean, we talk numbers, we talk revenue, and if it's like, especially through COVID, like that was so critical, because it's like, okay, this is going on or whatever. And the first, the gut reaction is just pull all your money in and hold on to it or whatever. And they're like, okay, let's think about this. And so it's like people that can give you calm, rational advice whenever you're panicking because your business is going sideways or you just launched something and it's a complete flop, and they have the skill set and the resources to troubleshoot and identify. But it's also okay to say, this is where I am. I haven't hit these goals. I've been distracted because I just had a friend die or whatever. And they're like, you know what? Let's see what we can do, to get you back on track and get you knocking down that one next big domino. And so it is accountability, because I'll be honest with you, even the stuff that we have to do for all of these masterminds, like the day before we meet on the mastermind, you would not believe how productive I become on all the things that I'm being held accountable for. It's like, oh, production day, and it's getting good to get me to the point where I know I have a deadline and I can't just let myself off the hook anymore. So
for sure.
Some of us have to function with our back against the wall to do well. So,
right. Till we have another choice. Yeah.
Gonna make you succeed whether you want to or not.
Well, so Christy, I got to ask you, I mean, you and Marcus are killing it with the live set location. You make my cheesy Costa Rican window situation look pretty lame, man. So because I had in my mind that you live in Florida, but that makes sense. You split your time. Yeah. So where are you in Hawaii? Tell me more.
Well, actually, yeah, I'm on the big island of Hawaii, and I'm over here. Like, I normally come over here several times a year, but right now I'm here because I've been here since April. And the reason I'm here is because my sister of choice, not family related, but my sister of choice, the Hawaiian people call it a Hanai sister. She was diagnosed with cancer in April, at the end of April. And so she had to have surgery and then chemo, but all of that has to take place on Oahu, which is a different island. So she has to fly over there to do that. But she has a farm here. So she's got 3 horses, 28 sheep, 5 cats, and 2 dogs. Now we had lost one while we've been here, but so she needed someone to come and sit on the farm and take care of the animals and do all that kind of stuff. So you can see that I'm really just, over here suffering for the Lord and just doing nothing but service work. But that's what we're here for. So that's kind of why it's been extended. So she's goes this week for, I think it's chemo number 5 treatment. We take her tomorrow to go to Oahu, and she spends a day or 2 over there and then a week or so recovering from it. But it's just, we're here to support and try to take the burden off of her and make sure the animals are still taken care of. And so being location independent is a beautiful thing whenever you can go and help family or whatever. And I'm just lucky enough that it happens to be in Hawaii, and this happens to be the view off of the lanai. And, whether we're working in the yard or feeding horses or whatever, this is what we're looking at. So it's kind of, it's therapeutic.
I wish I was there with you in Hawaii, because it's 90 degrees here. It smells like pig shit, and I'm on a gravel road,
the hotter it gets.
Standing. I'm doing this for our audience, though. I'm suffering for the audience, but no,
funny.
I love Hawaii. I've never been to the Big Island of Hawaii, but
it's
I've done shows on Oahu.
Yeah.
And,
It's we're about
what's the temperature there right now?
About 800 and 900 feet elevation. So there's like no air conditioning in the house because you really don't need it, because like the daytime high might get to 82, the nighttime low might be 69, 70 or something. So which is a break from what we have in Florida, where the high is like, the 90-degree high in the day is only second to the 89-degree low at night. There's just no difference at all. And the humidity's 400% all the time. So
the humidity is crazy here in Iowa too.
So we're on the Kona. We're in the area where you get all the Kona coffee from. So it's right out. It's called Captain Cook.
I get Kona coffee. I do Kona
delicious.
coffee.
We there's a roaster that's right up the street, and every time they start roasting, we're just like, is anybody wanting coffee? Because we can just smell it, just wafts through the air. It's just so delicious. So coffee farms across the street. We grow cacao and bananas and mangoes and avocados and papayas and all kind of stuff. So
man,
it's amazing.
That's awesome.
Living the dream.
I'm glad to be able to do it. So.
That's right.
Well, you're a good friend, and I know you're very passionate about animals. I remember that from hearing you speak about your horses, right? Do you have horses?
Yeah. Well, it was actually, these are the horses that we rescued from Hurricane Irma. That's the same friend. She moved from the Florida Keys after Irma over here to Hawaii. So
and brought
it's
the
same
horses with her?
Yes.
Holy shit.
She brought the horses and everything over here. So, yeah.
It's quite a shipment.
So, talk about a big airplane ticket. So they fly them over, so.
They are
some lucky horses. They really have no idea how lucky they are. So the sheep were she rescued those from people that couldn't take care of them when she was, first got over here. So they're native Hawaiian sheep, but the horses came with her. So.
Look at that.
It's crazy. Lifelong commitment. When you get animals, you got to check about their lifespan. Birds, you got to be careful of. Horses, you got to be careful of.
Right.
If you get a pet elephant, you just really got to be careful. Don't outlive them. You got to make plans in your will.
Next time I think about getting it. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have a Lily who lives to be 19 and decides to bark at you every time.
Is she really 19?
She's really 19.
She doesn't look like that.
That's
I would have thought
insane.
maybe 10 or 11. 19?
Well, if you saw her grill piece, you'd change your mind.
You're like...
She got about 4 left, and one of them sits on the outside. Her lower canine sits on the outside of her face now.
Oh my gosh. I cannot believe.
At least her tongue's not
some of them
hanging out.
have
That's
the
what happens
hole
to a
where
lot
the
of dogs.
Yeah, when she sleeps, though, the little thing pokes out. It's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen. I'm like, oh, can't take it.
Have you had her all 19 years?
15.
15. Wow.
So I rescued her.
That's still, I've never had an animal live that long. Like 16 is the longest, like a dog. I mean, not an animal, but just a dog.
It's crazy. She fell down like a 24-stair flight of stairs at this really sketchy Airbnb like 2 months ago. Just like, the most illegal set of stairs you've ever seen in your life. They would never, you would never, no landing at the top. It was the sketchiest thing ever. And so I carried her inside and I was like, stay away from the door. And of course, because she's an asshole, second I opened the door, she was like, and she went running out and got down 2 stairs and went into a death spiral and hit the bottom of the, landing pad, a concrete landing pad so hard. I thought it was over for old Lily girl. That's when her mouth was bleeding, her tooth was all loose. She was all dazed and confused. I thought, that's it, man. Brain's gonna swell up. She's gonna have seizures. It's gonna be horrible. I'm in the middle of the jungle. This is
not
terrible,
good. Yeah.
And she just like slept a little more than normal. And like 2 days later, she was like, "What's up, people? I'm in charge.
Gosh,
Get out of my way."
Resilience.
Wow.
That's gotten her through. That's gotten her through all these years.
No, this happened like 2 months ago. I'm like, how are you still alive? This is insane.
Wow.
She's tough. She's like a cat with 9 lives or something.
She is. Well, if Lily can get through the day, so can I. You know what I'm saying? That's what I tell myself.
True. Wow.
So Christy, what's on the agenda for this year? Do you have any, like revenue goals or milestones or new products or anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, so I'm getting ready to launch. In fact, we just talked about this in Mastermind the other day. And my goal is to launch this by September 15th. But it's basically it's a podcast success hub, And it's essentially where we focus on monetizing podcasts. So it's going to be a membership, and there'll be courses and things in there, but also community in there that we can really focus on the people that monetize, that want to monetize and want to get into building evergreen funnels from their podcast. It's not going to be a place where anybody gets shamed for for wanting to hit big revenue goals. And the thing is, everyone right now teaches people how to launch a podcast, and that's not even like it's not even good. You know what I mean? It's like just like pick up your phone, talk into it. Wow, you're a podcaster. You know, it's like, no, you're not. So, but yeah, just start. But just start. The whole thing is like, even the growth strategies are like growth for the point of growth, like for bragging rights on downloads. And I'm like, I don't care how many downloads you have. How many dollars do you have? How big is your email list? Let's talk about some tangible assets. So I am working really hard on just doing the things that are teaching the things in there in the frameworks that will help people get to that monetization aspect where they can begin making different choices in their lives, whether they want to have time freedom, location freedom. Maybe they just want to quit their job. They want to have financial freedom, but they just want to replace their full-time income. And the real goal, with that is we'll offer some done-for-you type services with that. That's going to be, more of our high-ticket stuff where everything is done for them. And we'll basically monetize a podcast within 90 days. So that's kind of what the goal is in using the frameworks. And so the Podcast Success Hub is scheduled to be launched, at least beta was what I've committed to, September 15th. So if I don't get that stuff done, every one of you should be sending me messages saying, "What's up, lazy?" So
I won't call you lazy, but I will. I will send you a message.
Yeah, exactly. Mark it on your calendar. Mark it on your calendar. So it's just about that phase after launch. It doesn't mean people can't launch and go into it, but it's more for people that have already launched and are trying to figure out the monetization. And they can either do it on their own and take 4 years, or if they make it that long, or they can get the help they need and make it happen in 90 days. So
I've got a friend and a partner on a podcast that I will be sending your way, Alan Clark, who's a photographer. Fabulous. And I've been helping him with the production of his podcast, and he's having trouble monetizing it.
Nice. Yeah. There's definitely some things that can be done. So that's my big thing. And if I can get that done by the end of the year, then we'll have a really big push, for that kind of stuff by 2022. And I feel like 2022 is like when we're going to hit all the financial goals. And I want to go from that, 7-figure to 8-figure really fast. So I'd like to do like 7 in 2022 and 8 in 2023. So
hell yeah.
So just trying to get it all into place. A lot of infrastructure goes into building out that. That. You've had to spend years building teams, and but once you get it going, it's like this is what I live for, is the automation and the scaling of that. Because then you can scale once you get all that stuff out of the way.
It's exciting for sure. And will you be at any of the events coming up? Are you going to be at Podcast Movement or She Podcast?
I am not going to either one of them because they both conflicted with my schedules. The only event I'm going to this year, I was going to Podfest, and that was canceled. I had blocked that on my calendar, and then everything else had been so wonky with dates that other stuff got filled up. But I have a Funnel Hacking Live, which is the Russell Brunson ClickFunnels thing in Orlando at the end of September. And then I just have our Elevate Mastermind Retreat. They actually do the second one of the year in the Florida Keys. So like early December, I'll be there. I'll be doing that. So that's the only things. And then next year, hopefully we'll be back to a full conference schedule with all kind of stuff going on. And it's just, and I'll tell you what, one thing I've done, and I'm going to encourage other people to do it too, especially for those of us that have podcast audiences. We see what our podcasters that are clients are doing. And during the pandemic, I saw all of my podcasts that had sponsors, all the shows got pulled. I mean, all the sponsorship ads got pulled immediately. People were just like, "Oh, stop advertising. We got to, hoard cash." And except there was one show. There was one show that these ladies doubled down. And every time I turned around, they're like, "Christy, our ad inventory is sold out. We've got to add more shows. We've got to do all this kind of stuff." And I was like, "What are you guys doing?" So essentially, for one of the things with even the Podcast Success Hub is I'm partnering with them to be like, "Look, you've got something that's obviously very special. And you made it through the pandemic in a time when no one else could." And so I'm partnering with them to do a course so it'll help bring them evergreen revenue from a podcast, audience, but not really. Their audience is moms. So if you have clients that are doing really unique or crazy things that are having amazing success when everyone else isn't, don't be afraid to partner with them and say, "Look, I've got the podcast audience. You've got the knowledge. Let's go together and we'll just do a 50-50 revenue split on this course and put it out there, and we'll handle all the production and the marketing for it. You bring the content and, make it a day." And that can get us further sometimes than we can on our own, So just a thought. I've got several other clients for little nichey things that I'm going to be doing that type of thing for. So just a thought.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well,
diversifying your options, that's something I heard you refer to earlier too. Like you're not just producing podcasts for other people. You're looking for other opportunities. Like, Adam could probably speak to this too with the retail business. Like, you're not just selling guitars. You're not just selling, audio gear.
Well, if you only have one revenue stream, then you're at a very high risk, and that's even as podcast editors, for me, it was, when I realized that my whole business model was built on only referrals and I was doing I had no systematic lead generation. Like, I was putting not just my livelihood at risk, but everyone that works for me livelihood at risk. And so it's like, I don't want 12 families to starve.
That's why I work for myself. And
yes, exactly. I don't want 12 families to starve because I'm an idiot, So, but you have to do, you have to get to the point where you're not just expecting referrals, and that's what everyone in our industry does is completely referrals,
Yeah.
And just not okay.
So what does your team look like? You mentioned the we several times. So what's the team, and how did the team come together?
Yeah, so they're really all over the world. I mean, I have most of my show notes writers and sort of like project manager people, they're in the United States, or I have one in South Africa and I have one in Australia. And then my editors are all over the world. And I've basically, I've come across them from some of the podcast groups, even hired a few off of initially, they've all been with me like 4 years now, which is kind of crazy. Wow. But they, sometimes I'll find them on Upwork and do like a trial with like a group of people, and I give them, I pay them for a project, and they're editing the same thing. And I know what the problems are with the files. And so it's like a test kind of thing. And if I can weed out the bad ones, then the good ones end up staying with me. And so I pull them eventually off of Upwork into our system. And so they're specifically, everyone's specific. So it's like the audio editors are specific to only audio editing, project managers, social media managers, show notes writers, video editors, like they all do only that one task. And then somebody else manages the project and does the publishing and kind of pulls it all together and meets the deadlines and that kind of stuff. So, and then, I'm kind of the backup. If all the wheels fall off and everything goes off the rails, I'm the backup to jump in and fix any problems that go wrong. So, yeah. But I think there's about 12 of us that are, on our team, and they have varying levels of, workload. Some of them want more work. Some of them want less work. And, they just let me know what they need, and I try to give it to them. So, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to help people. I have one that is one project manager that is currently battling breast cancer, and so trying to be sensitive to her needs, and then at the same time giving her the time off she needs, and helping her, give her the financial infusion she needs to help make the best medical decisions for herself. And so it's good to be able to take people and give them the opportunity to work through a time whenever they wouldn't be able to keep a normal job.
Which is exactly why more women need to own businesses, because we actually care about people.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
sorry, Adam. Not saying you don't, but
you care.
You're like a rare bird.
Adam does though. He cares about people. Yeah, exactly. It's a family business, and he's definitely.
But I understand.
Typical,
Yeah.
Point taken.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Yes, absolutely.
We're just a little better than men. That's all I'm saying.
You're more empathetic for sure.
They do say that the more more money that goes to women, the more families that get helped, and it's just it's literally the data is there.
It's
it supports, true. You support the whole entire community when you give more women jobs that have. Flexibility that they need to accommodate their, children raising and schooling and, birthing and all these other, things that women have on their plate. It makes them unemployable into a lot of traditional environments. And so we're in a situation where we can give people remote, flexible work schedules, and they can take as much as they want on, or they can, step back as much as they need to. So that's a beautiful thing. I never knew that this kind of jobs were out there. Before I got into this, I didn't know what all was possible. But really, I think COVID taught us that anything is possible on Zoom.
Yeah. Amen. In a very good way.
Speaking of Zoom, do we want to talk about gear really quick? Since our time's almost up, since I'm on this cellular service on Riverside, which is working fantastic.
Look at Adam popping up with his microphone. I think Adam's got some
like
here.
Like Adam's the double fisting of audio, right?
Double fisting it.
Yeah.
I'll go. Mine's quick, Marcus. Then you can tell us how you're doing it in the cornfield. This by the time we post this will be out, but this isn't out yet. This is brand new. This is Audio Technica. One of our favorite companies.
Indeed.
Yeah.
New podcast specific microphone, which they may have a fancy one, but no one really. It's a broadcast mic, so it's not really a podcast microphone. This podcast microphone. I'm gonna switch it right now, real quick. Hang on. Check. Hello. Can you hear me?
Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds.
Does it sound okay? Sound better than my headset?
Sounds great.
They hate my headset, Christy. They give me
I
shit
have
all day.
heard that be
about it.
disparaged a time or two, Adam.
They
so
hate it a lot, and it serves its purpose, and I will never get rid of it.
Right. You can go right from
Just
this
to spite
podcast
them.
to the
Just
wide
to
world of
spite.
sports, or hosting. Narrating
do
the
it all.
Olympics or whatever.
I'm there. I'm
Hop
in
on
it.
his airplane.
But this is called the AT2040, so it's in the same family as the 2020 that everybody loves.
Is it a condenser?
It is not a condenser. It is a hyper cardioid, so super good for being in noisy rooms and such.
Yeah.
It's got nice weight to it. It's like serious piece of equipment.
So you could hit somebody with it.
You can throw it at people. You can get them out of your way. You can
defend
swing the
yourself.
boom
Weapon.
around. Get it out of there.
Try doing that with your
What?
headset.
Easy
XLR,
XLR
USB?
USB.
Easy XLR, real microphone,
XLR.
real mic.
Because I have a BP40.
That's the fancy
and it sounds
version of
great.
this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the big brother or big sister.
And that one's $300. Is the BP40
This is
is
exactly
$300.
built in that family. That's why it ends in 40. It's the
Interesting.
same.
99.
family. Well done,
Wow.
Marcus. $99.
Yeah, and they went with the 20 branding as opposed to the BP branding to get all the podcasters that are already on the 2020 and the 2000 or what's the
Because only you know about the
USB
BP40.
one. Yeah, right, exactly. Me and
No
David
one
Hooper, he
else.
has one
I didn't
too.
even know about it. No one else knew about it. This, everyone's gonna know what it is because it's got a cool picture on the box. This is great.
That's
Great.
important.
I put a lot of weight into a box. You got a shitty box. No one's gonna buy your thing. You got a cool box. Easy.
It's true.
You feel better opening the box like you want it.
It's perceived
That's true.
value,
Save
right?
the
Like as
box.
much as we
It is.
hate
Yeah, it is.
Apple,
It
like
is.
their
Absolutely.
packaging.
That
is
box
on
is
point.
Their boxes
Yeah.
are great.
They make you want to keep the box, even
They
if you're a
do.
person
You've
who
got a
doesn't keep
closet
the
full.
box. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't. Got boxes full of boxes of them.
I bet you do. $99, man. We'll make sure we'll put the link to that.
Get much better than that.
That's awesome.
We should probably do a shootout now because now there's a bunch of mics in this price range that sound really good specifically for podcasting.
Yeah.
Molly, you know what time it is?
It's the $99 microphone shootout.
It's $99 microphone shootout.
Snap.
2021.
2021.
Coming at you.
Dude.
Coming at you
I didn't
soon.
even know this was coming. This is a treat, man.
It's coming at you soon.
That's awesome.
I'm here.
Stay
for
tuned.
Yeah.
All right, Marcus, how are you doing this from a field?
Yeah, what's happening?
How the hell are you doing this thing?
This is blowing me away. Like, props to Riverside.fm. Like, anybody who's listened to the show before or has talked to me at all knows how much we love Riverside. And this app is freaking killer.
Money.
The only thing, like, I'm on cellular service, I got full LTE bars. I'm actually there's a cell phone tower right in front of me, so I got good signal. I didn't even plan that, but I tried it like in town, which had, anyway, it's working great. It's recording on the phone and then uploading it to the cloud, just like if you're on a computer. The only thing with it that supposedly they're working on is I can't connect my Shure MV7 straight to my phone, and it works.
Interesting.
What I'm running through right now is my Clubhouse setup, which is the Lightning to TRRS adapter out of I have my fancy adapter 2 because I don't have a Rodecaster Pro, but I wouldn't bring my Rodecaster Pro out here even if I had one, because it's too big. So I got my adapter 2. I took a picture of it. We'll put it in the show notes. Strapped to the side of this with the cables. It's a big mess of cables along my tripod here. And it's plugged into the phone. I'm also going through my Mix Pre 6 so I can record this and have high-end, clean quality for my SM7. Because I'm such a nerd, I brought my SM7B into a cornfield. That's how much I love my
What
SM7B.
a time, though. What a time to be alive. That is awesome.
I mean,
In 2012, when Christy started, you definitely could not do this shit from any of these places.
No, but the pandemic has accelerated this stuff, though. I mean, it really has.
And man, Riverside is setting the standard. Just like Rode setting the standard with hardware, Riverside is setting the standard with streaming.
That's awesome.
I agree.
It's unbelievable what they're doing.
Yes.
And recording remote guests.
Sometimes I think they move a little too fast, but that's just probably my 45-year-old woman coming out. I'm like, slow down.
They did get the timer back in at least the host. I haven't seen if it's in the producer pane or in the window, but the timer's in the host thing now.
I did notice.
Matt will let us know, I'm sure.
I noticed that came back. Yeah, no, we're big fans of Riverside.
Yeah.
Well, and
Love
even,
Riverside.
for us, you've been going in and out, and Christy's a little fuzzy, but the end result is everybody's files are going to be so crispy and so clean, and it's amazing. My clients are always
amazing.
so impressed by that. They were like, we were a little worried, but it came out perfectly. And we're like, yeah, man, that's what we do. That's what we do.
You all have been crystal clear, super tiny on my phone screen, and there goes another truck on the gravel road. That's what
you can't hear it.
We can't hear it. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's my SM7B. The rejection is facing the road. I thought I needed it towards the highway. There's another car down the gravel road. Everybody's looking at me like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a new
Children of the Corn?
Right. My father-in-law said, "Dude, you should come walking out of the corn into the camp."
It's
my headphones won't reach that far. So
it's like that movie Children of the Corn, except it's all grown up.
Marcus of the Corn.
Marcus of the Corn. Yeah.
Yeah.
The corn.
Old dude of the corn.
Oh gosh.
Boomer of the corn. You're not a boomer though.
No,
I'm a Gen Xer.
You're like,
I'm not a boomer.
Don't call me a boomer. Man.
That's right.
Well, this has been really great. And Christy, if there's anything that I can do to contribute with yours, I've got some stuff I'm launching too. So if I can be of any
let's
service,
help each other promote each other's stuff, because I'm
for sure
all about
Yes,
working
sure.
together. With
I'll
that.
all the way
definitely
around.
send people your way.
Yeah.
And you never know, you might see us signing up for that portal on how to market your podcast and monetize
There you
it,
go. There you go. It'll just be amazing.
Live workshop.
Then they'd be
that.
all coming back and listening to this, hearing us talking about it, like that must have been before they hit it big, right?
That's right.
Right.
Well,
What I would like to see is, when, Christy, are you going to start a mastermind so I can join?
That's a good idea.
Hell
yeah. That's on the horizon. That'll
spare
probably
time.
be 2022 for sure. But I feel like there's some
Cool.
Cool.
Well, I'm
needs for
there.
that for sure. So it's exciting. But
I love
awesome.
it. I
Awesome.
love it.
I appreciate you guys having me and bearing with the whatever internet stuff we're dealing with out here. So,
Hey man, you had goats walking by like a few minutes ago. Like a goat walked by and stopped and like looked over at us. It was so amazing. It was the best thing that's ever happened.
I could see on my time.
Sometimes people think it's a background, and then they see a goat, and they're like, "What just happened?" It's like, no, it's a sheep.
Yeah, I thought it was a background when it first came on. I was like, that's a cool background.
It is. It's even better when I get in the grass
real
mode.
background.
So,
Wow.
It's amazing. Well, and guys, I have some updates from our super inspiring podcast episode about imposter syndrome not being real. I have actually built out the framework, the course that I've been working on. I've literally decided to call it "Fuck That Charge Double."
good for you.
Nice.
Good for you.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Yes.
That's what we talked about last week.
And so I'm super pumped because I've already started working on the course. It's like halfway done, but it was, freelance to freedom, or I don't know. I was like, this all sucks. And then I was like, what? It's fuck that charge double. That's what the whole course, I mean, it's not just
it's like
me
her next show
people.
is going to be like fuck imposter syndrome.
Yes.
It's like everything is going to be like the whole line
series.
of F courses. So
fuck that. Hell yeah.
Exactly. Well, and so you mentioned, Adam, you were like, you should start like a like a group or a cohort or whatever, right? And so the woman that I met, Kim, who's going to be on the podcast soon here, Kim Doyle, it's the craziest thing, Christy. So I'm in this apartment building in Costa Rica. There's 7 apartments, including mine. And since I moved in, I knew this other woman from America, from the United States, was moving here too, and she had 2 dogs. That's all I knew. And so she moves in.
You already liked her if she's got 2 dogs. And
I know, right? I'm like, that's my people right there.
She's exactly.
And it turns out that we're like a couple years apart in age. She's an online marketer, does writes content. She's had a podcast for the last 8 years. It's insane. We've read the same books. We're doing the same meditations. We're on the same. It's the same, I'm sure you would also love her. It's just when
sister
you find
from
your people,
another mother, right?
and it's just crazy to be in Costa Rica and such a low populated area and continue to make friendships like this. I'm like, what are the odds? Because I didn't even really find people like this in DC, and I knew thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people, right? So, and the people I did find, I'm doing a podcast with every Monday night. So here we are,
That was
right?
it. Slim pickings there in DC, huh?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people, but you're in different phases of your journey, right? You know what I mean? And so different things resonate at different times. But Kim has a movement called F the Hustle, and it's kind of just taking the opposite road of Gary Vee and being like, no, fuck that. The goal is not to work 70 hours a week. The goal is to work 7 hours a week, but make that 70-hour a week money. Yeah. And not be working as least amount of hours as possible to make the most amount of money, which is such a head-on collision with all these money blocks that we all have. Some people don't even want to admit they want to make money, and I'm like, not only do I want to make money, I want to do the least amount of work to get there, and that's jarring for people, right? I'm not saying I want to take it out of somebody's pocket. I'm just saying I don't want to trade my time for money. So she's got this movement, F the Hustle. I'm like, this is amazing. She does a weekly newsletter, has a whole file. So Kim and I are launching F the Hustle Live, a 7-day retreat in Costa Rica in February. And we're going to do exactly what you talked about on the podcast, Adam. We're going to have people there to talk about mindset, email marketing, defining your product, what's the difference between a C Corp and an S Corp and an LLC, how do you raise money, all the stuff we talked about, even have immigration attorneys and real estate attorneys there to talk about, hey, do you actually want to come to Costa Rica? You want to, by the way, if you spend $150,000 and you invest in property, they give you an automatic residency. And so and you can bring 2 vehicles in, import tax-free, and a shipping container in for free without any import taxes. They just passed that law 30 days ago, which is going to drastically change Costa Rica, right? So we're going to have people there that it's basically how to build a lifestyle business, how to work smarter, not harder, F the hustle, and charge double, right? It's kind of all of that in one. Nice. So it's just really crazy, Adam, because it was all sort of there, and I was listening to the podcast again the other day. I'm our #1 fan, by the way. And And like you nailed it. Like you really nailed it. And so I'm excited to tell you about this. And like you guys should definitely come. And Christy, I would love. I'll hit you up offline. You know,
yeah,
me and Kim will,
Let me know when it is, and we'll figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, because you would be a great person to be there. So, and the idea is that like we bring people here, and it's 7 days, but it's kind of a little bit of a mastermind in a sense. Where like in the middle of the week, we're going to give you a day off, and we're all going to go on a catamaran, and like you know what I mean. Like you're going to enjoy. It's not like going to, no disrespect, but like Podfest Expo, and you never leave the Orlando hotel. Like I'm not spending $1,800 to go to Orlando again. And then not see anything. You know what I mean? Like fuck that. Like come to Costa Rica and go snorkeling and go scuba diving
and have some good
and
food.
Go on a catamaran and go deep sea fishing and get cooked, Tico, like, meals and like the whole thing. Right.
Cool.
So
that's awesome.
So it's crazy, Adam, because you like pushed me over the ledge here. You're like, you should do a conference. You should start a group. And I'm like, give me 2 weeks. I got you. I'm in there.
That's it. Awesome. 2 weeks all it takes.
But Molly, I think the trend is toward those smaller group things like that. Yeah. I mean, the conferences have gotten so big and so much, and not just that, but so the virtual stuff is like, so ubiquitous right now. And it's like, the small retreats where you can actually do some masterminding, but also some workshopping and get stuff done. That is going to be, I think, the next phase where people are willing to invest, and that's much needed. Yeah. So.
Because there's power in people. You just got to find the time to actually like get to know the people.
Yeah. Right. And so we figure, we do like maybe 30 people, that's enough to like, and I'm going to take nods. Like one of the greatest events I ever went to was with Link Strategic Partners. It was called the District of Conversation. And I got this invitation. They were like, you're one of the influential people in DC and you're invited to this dinner. You can't bring anybody. I was like, okay, word. And so it's at the Ronald Reagan building. It's the nicest. It's like black tie formal. It's the nicest thing I've ever been to. Cocktails, appetizers everywhere. But when you got there, you got a name tag with like 3 different marks on it. And so for each course of the meal, you sat at a different table. And so they spent months planning this. And they had 3 separate dining rooms set up in this huge hall. So the first course, you were at this table with 7 people. And then the next course, you got a drink in between. And then you went to the next course. And it was a totally different setup. And you were at a new table with 6 new people. And it was the most impactful thing I've ever done, right? So we're going to take elements of all these things that have been like really amazing, and then kind of bring it into the fold. Because the goal is, you and I briefly met, yet you're somebody that's stayed in my like mainframe, right? And it's like, when you find people that are, trying to accomplish the same things, there's value in that. So we're hoping that business partnerships will form or friendships will be created or who knows what'll come of these events because, we're going to take you on a catamaran at sunset and just be like, hey, real quick, while we're here, let's talk about mindset. Let's talk about intention. Yeah. Where do you want to wake up every morning? Like, what does it actually look like? Is it cold outside? Is it hot outside? What time is it? Like, let's now that you're out here on this beautiful ass boat, looking at this amazing sunset, like, let's be free. Think about what you want. So I'm really excited about all of this. So I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll be launching the website and all of that. But I took what you said to heart, Adam, and I'm doing the damn thing, man.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Badass.
Do it.
Super cool.
Good.
So yeah, Costa Rica, February, March 2022.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Doing it.
Yeah.
Can't wait. That's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, you guys all got to come for sure. For sure.
Definitely.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to hang out with us, Christy. And I wish you and your friend there, all of the love and comfort and positive vibes and healing energy that there is in the world. I muster as much as I got and send it your way. So
awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. It's a fun time.
Absolutely. Well, we'll make sure to link all your stuff in the show notes, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from all of us. This is not our last
good
encounter.
Definitely,
I have no doubt.
You'll definitely be hearing.
I need more friends that speak fluent sarcasm too, so that's great. So.
We got you.
I know this group has me covered. So.
I'm Irish and Catholic. It's like literally my native tongue. Yeah.
There you go. It is.
We have a no sarcasm rule on family holidays because it's like because we're that bad. It's
oh God.
I know. I know. Well, on that note, thank you all for joining us. Marcus, Adam, always good to see your faces. And Christy, thank you so much. And we'll look forward to getting to see you and give you a hug in real time and
absolutely
and celebrate some victories.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it very much.